Hello, and thank you so much for joining us here. I'm Netta Iranpour. Here at CBS 8, we are working for you. We're getting to the bottom of problems you've asked us about, and we're looking for solutions. We want to begin here with what's being called eviction gridlock. Local landlords are currently learning what happens when a tenant stops paying rent, but the legal process won't let the landlord kick that tenant out. CBS 8's Brian White working for you in El Cajon and shows us what it takes to evict any difficult tenants.
We're doing now that we have the tenants out. We've ripped out the kitchen. We're going to do all new appliances.
Dana Logston is remodeling now after his tenants left in April after 6 months of not paying rent.
And I would request, when can we expect a payment? Yeah, we don't know. We're working on it. That's all they would ever say.
He lost $22,000 in rent over those 6 months, so he hired an attorney. Rather than go through a lengthy legal process, he chose to cut his losses.
He negotiated and said, look, if you guys leave now, we're going to forgive it, but they could have drug it out another 6 months.
For Trent Ralston, who rents out a 2-bedroom condo in Mission Valley, he says his tenant moved in and stopped paying rent after the first month. And that was almost a year ago. And it's cost him $30,000 and a lot of personal anguish.
The wedding plans had to stop. The Pop Warners and all the other plans had to stop because the financial burden got really high. It's so much that we had to refinance the house to be able to afford this.
He's gone through the legal eviction process. The judge ruled in his favor, but now he's waiting on the sheriff's office for a lockout. Eviction attorney Seth Barron says from filing paperwork to actually removing the tenant, the process can stretch out to 8 months or longer.
There's a lack of funding in the court system, right? There's one judge to hear 9,000 cases a year, and that's put an immense burden on the court, who's trying their hardest, but is simply understaffed.
Tenant advocates say the court system may be slow, but it also protects renters from illegal or retaliatory evictions.
There's, all kinds of reasons for why a tenant might withhold rent, but they want to make sure that they are protected by the law to do that. And in some cases where, it goes through the court process, it could take a very long time.
Meanwhile, Trent is still waiting for this nightmare to be over.
I've got my lock in the car ready to go, so as soon as I get that call, I'm ready.
That was Brian White reporting there. As you heard, right now the case backlog for evictions, it's huge. And even after a judge may rule in a landlord's favor, you still face several months of delays with processing paperwork before the sheriff's office can finally get out there and evict people. More cities are changing the way drivers move through intersections, and roundabouts are gaining ground. CBS 8's Esmeralda Perez is working for you up in North County now to tell us why they're generally considered safer and more effective than traditional intersections.
Roundabouts are gaining popularity with 2 new ones just added here in Escondido. I found out that not only can they be safer than traditional intersections, but they can also help drivers save on fuel. Drivers cruise through these newly added roundabouts along Grand Avenue in Escondido, guided by signs reminding them to yield. Bernie Munn tells me she has driven through the area several times since the road reopened. She says so far it's been a peaceful experience.
They do great traffic control. You don't have to stop at stop signs and wait. Are you going? Are you going? Are you going? Are you going? It's very free-flowing.
Other residents agree that these roundabouts are a positive addition to the neighborhood.
It gets busy down here, so it helps traffic flow. Everybody's paying a little bit more attention. Less catastrophic accidents will be worth it, definitely, yeah.
According to the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Highway Administration, roundabouts can help lower speeds, reduce conflict points, and improve overall safety. Vikash Kaya is a professor of civil engineering and serves as interim director of the Larson Transportation Institute at Penn State University. He says roundabouts are safer than traditional intersections. He explains that they help eliminate serious injury and fatalities caused by angle collisions.
It kind of gets rid of those harsh conflicts where vehicles are potentially moving at very dangerous angles where they can run into each other head on or run into each other from an angle. If there are crashes at a roundabout, it tends to be sort of like sideswipe crashes or rear end crashes, which tend to be less severe.
In University Heights, there's a petition underway for safety improvements at an intersection, which includes exploring the possibility of a roundabout in what some people are calling a confusing intersection of Park Boulevard, El Cajon Boulevard, and Normal Street. Meantime, roundabouts can help drivers save fuel by reducing the need to stop frequently at intersections.
What consumes a lot of the fuel is when you are essentially starting and stopping. So decelerating to a stop and then accelerating again. Every time you go to an intersection, you do that.
Vikash points out that left turns at intersections can be dangerous for both drivers and pedestrians, as drivers have to cross oncoming traffic and judge whether there's a sufficient gap to make the turn.
And here in Escondido, we saw traffic flow smoothly as drivers navigated these newly built roundabouts. I'm Esmeralda Perez, CBS 8.
And now pollution from the Tijuana River making its way into the air and lowering air quality even as far north as La Jolla. That's according to a new study released by UC San Diego researchers. Samples from the air and the water were taken back in 2020. Although they're now several years old, the study's authors say the findings are still relevant because little has changed in how sewage released into the river gets processed.
People have been complaining about, issues for decades now, and it's just not right. And all we're doing is coming in and providing the data that back up what the people have been saying all along. And they need help.
The Tijuana River flows from Baja California, and a lot of that water ends up in the ocean. A lot of it flows into the U.S., discharges millions of gallons of wastewater, including sewage, industrial waste, all into the Pacific Ocean every day. It has been more than 1 year since the devastating fire tore through the end of the Oceanside Pier. The charred remains have since been cleared away. And now, as CBS 8's Brian White reports, the long path to rebuilding is just beginning.
Yeah, I'm going to show you what the end of the pier looks like now in just a second. But first, let me tell you, it is very clear after talking with people around here just how much this pier means to people here in Oceanside and all of North County for that matter. And they know this rebuild is going to take time. The Oceanside Pier stands as one of Southern California's most iconic coastal landmarks, but for many, it still feels incomplete.
It was just a very sad, dark day.
In April last year, fire and smoke engulfed the end of the pier, burning down the old Ruby's Diner and the brine box next to it, all caused by old electrical wires underneath the pier's deck.
We lost something that was home to us, something that's been there for practically my whole life.
Now, with all the rubble and debris removed, the city is working with the former tenant to finalize construction plans by the end of the year. After that, a long permitting process could take another year.
I just wanted to come out here today to see, okay, they took it all off, but now it's just waiting for everybody to get approved by everybody. And then once they get all the approval, I'm pretty sure it'll go off quick.
The earliest estimate for construction to begin, fall of next year. The city says it's up to the tenant to pay for the restaurant reconstruction, but all other repairs to the pier itself, like the pilings, the deck, and railings, will cost around $17 million. Most of that paid for by insurance and state and federal grant money. It may take time, but for many here in Oceanside, the rebuild will be worth the wait.
It's not really a problem to us as long as it gets done right.
That's all I have is patience. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't rush progress.
In Oceanside, Brian White, CBS 8.
Still nice that most of the pier is open. Coming up next, a $140 million project gets the green light. We're going to show you the changes coming to the Coronado Bridge and when work will wrap up on that. Plus, we know rent in San Diego is expensive, but how do we compare to the rest of the nation? Details on that and where you might find a good deal. Welcome back. La Mesa is planning to expand its network of bike lanes. The La Mesa City Council has approved 8 new segments, which would cost more than $1 million. They say it's to fill gaps in bike and pedestrian paths with ramps and sidewalks and to improve access to parks, schools, and public transit. Not everyone agrees this is a good idea, with one city leader questioning if they're really needed.
don't see our current city bike lanes being used. So to me, why are we doubling and tripling and quadrupling down? Before we add even one more mile, let's do a study. Let's see if they're being used in the single digits or dozens or hundreds of people.
Bike lanes or sidewalks are approved for Gateway Drive, La Mesa Rail Trail, Pasadena Avenue, Palm Avenue, East La Mesa Boulevard, Lemon Avenue, and Garfield Street. After years of studies and design, safety nets are going up along the Coronado Bridge. As CBS 8's Jenny Day is working for you, she shows us how the project could save lives.
Yeah, around 15 people jump from this bridge each and every year. So Caltrans says it is finally time to do all that we can to save lives. Now, these nets will stretch the entire 2-mile span of the bridge, set to cost the state $140 million and should be complete by 2028.
It is devastating to hear that somebody would be at that point in their life to make that decision.
The Escobar family was recently stopped on the bridge for hours, and just 1 week ago, a Patrick Henry High School student died. The family writing on GoFundMe, this is a painful reminder of how important it is to talk about mental health.
It seemed as if somebody had abandoned their car and gotten out and gone over the bridge.
Traumatic, of course, to the victim, witnesses, and the families they leave behind. Something Wayne Strickland says could have been prevented.
If they would have put up a fence in the beginning, or a vertical cantilever net, they call it, then we wouldn't have had over 500 deaths.
He's a former Coronado firefighter who responded to many of these calls. He now runs the Coronado Bridge Suicide Prevention Facebook group.
I've seen a lot of death, and when you can try and prevent it, that's my goal.
So now, after years of debate, Caltrans confirmed a contractor has been hired, and angled nets like these will be installed on both sides of the Coronado Bridge.
I think that they might be something that would help and maybe minimize it.
I think safety is of primary concern. Beside aesthetics or the way something may look.
Some have expressed concerns about the fencing being an eyesore, but Caltrans says a lot has gone into the design to keep the bridge beautiful and save lives. The netting is set to extend 7 feet beyond the railing. It'll be see-through with wiring set to match the bridge. In 2019, 4-inch spikes were installed on the bridge rail, but sadly haven't worked. Coronado Council member Kelly Purvis tells me the nets will serve not only as a physical barrier, but a symbol of hope and compassion as it sends a message that help is available.
I would love to see the actions of more prevention, like before it even gets to that point.
The Coronado Bridge is the second most frequently used bridge for suicide in the U.S. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge is first and now uses this kind of fencing as a deterrent. Again, supporters say it is a commitment to mental health and public safety. And remember, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number just recently changed. It is only 3 digits, 988, if you or someone you know needs help. Reporting from Coronado, Jenny Day, CBS 8.
There are more than 200,000 veterans living in San Diego County. Up next, why many are struggling with a difficult financial battle right here at home. Welcome back. New affordable housing is coming to East Village, led by Father Joe's Villages. The San Diego City Council approved converting a former skydiving facility into 164 affordable housing units. The city will sell the building for $7.9 million and is loaning Father Joe's $2.9 million as part of this agreement. The project does include studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units, plus support services like health care and job assistance. It replaces the city's homelessness response center, which will be now relocated. Homelessness in the city of San Diego actually went down 14% in the last year. That's according to new data from the Regional Task Force on Homelessness. The data is based on the point-in-time count conducted in January. According to the report, in the city of San Diego, veteran homelessness dropped 22%, and youth homelessness went down 23%. Region-wide, homelessness dropped 7%. The cities of Carlsbad, Encinitas, Oceanside, La Mesa, and Chula Vista also saw a decline. A new analysis by Redfin now shows there are now 500,000 more home sellers than potential buyers. This is all across the country. Yeah, a lot more sellers. That's the largest gap since Redfin started collecting data, which was back in the year 2013. Analysts say this trend is driven in part by the continued rise in home prices and high interest rates, which is making buying less affordable for many people. Other factors include a dip in buyer demand, ongoing U.S. trade tensions, and then fears of a possible recession. Not as many buyers out there. A new report finds California is now the worst state in the nation for renting. The group Consumer Affairs found nearly half of all renters across the U.S. are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Here in California, renters are spending an average of 34% of their income. The Golden State ranks dead last in affordability with a median rent of $1,956. Yeah, almost $2,000 a month. The report ranked North Dakota as the best state for renters, followed by Iowa, Wyoming, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. The sacrifices of military service, they're undeniable, but a new report paints a troubling picture for those who've served and returned to California. Wallet Hub's latest study reveals the Golden State as one of the worst for military retirees. CBS 8's Brian White giving us a closer look at why that is.
Yeah, ranking number 40 on this list is not where we want to be, especially with San Diego being such a big military town. So let's take a look at the reasons why.
They served their country with honor, but for many veterans, life after the military is a new kind of battle. And according to a new Wallet Hub report, California isn't making that fight any easier.
Where California struggled the most was in the economic environment.
The state ranks 40th in the nation when it comes to supporting military retirees based on factors like cost of living, housing, job opportunities, and quality health care.
49th overall in the cost of living, 50th in housing affordability.
San Diego, home to one of the largest military populations in the country, is feeling the impact firsthand.
Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for a civilian life, and I found myself living in my car.
Dr. Dustin Potash is an Army combat veteran serving 12 years, including a deployment in Iraq. He now helps fellow vets at Veterans Village of San Diego.
Cost of living is super high and not many available places. So you're always fighting with the next person who's trying to get the same place that you are.
California also fully taxes military retirement income, one of the few states that offers no exemptions.
If you're in the military or part of a military family, this is definitely one of the things you should look at.
While California does invest heavily in VA services, ranking number 8 in spending per veteran, the system still ranks 40th in quality. And as far as homelessness, we're among the worst for highest percentage of veterans in our homeless population. Dr. Potash says the transition from military to civilian life can feel like a free fall for many veterans. That's why he's turned his own experience into action.
I got into this position and working with veterans exactly because of that. I don't want to see someone go through what I went through if I can help it.
Wallet Hub's top-ranked states for military retirees include South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Maryland, all offering tax breaks and lower living costs. Brian White, CBS 8.
And that is going to do it for us here on CBS 8. Remember, if there's something you want us to look into, here's the email right there on your screen. Email us at workingforyou@cbs8.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.